On the screen now, you can see that according to the Listening to Mothers in California survey, 74% of California mothers agreed that childbirth should not be interfered with, pay attention to interfered with unless necessary, but only 5% of them gave birth with no medical major intervention. What this means is that the main thing that we were doing until now is informing our clients, and they are well informed because 74% of them understand that their birth should not be interfered, right? We did inform them, but 95% of them are having medical interventions during their birth, which is a lot, right? So there are so many questions I want to ask about these circumstances, and I want you to ask yourself those questions about the circumstances, right? First of all, I want to know, do you think that these birth givers who take epidural consider administering an epidural an interference with their birth? I want to see a yes or a no in the chat for this question. Put a yes or a no. Do you think that they know it's an interference with their birth? Do they consider it as an interference with their birth? I see Carrie saying no. And I see Isabel saying, oh my God, so many of you are saying no. Deborah is saying no. Wow, so this is not an interference. Oh, Joanne says yes. So Joanne's clients probably know it's an interference, okay? If they saw it as an interference, one more question to wonder about, did they think it was necessary? I want to ask you, did you share in your conversations with your clients, did you share those downsides, or did you share this information about prolonged labor, about hard time to push, about maybe needing forceps or vacuum? Did all of you share this information? Put a yes in the chat if you think that you shared most definitely and you believed that your clients knew about all those possibilities. I see a lot of yeses in the chat. So the thing is, sisters, we all need to wonder about this situation. How can it be that they requested an epidural and knowing all that you shared with them, they were knowledgeable and informed. They knew about the downsides, they knew about the possibilities, and they still asked for epidural, right? When you leave today, I'm going to make sure that you know the answer to this question, right? But for now, can we all agree that informing may not be the best strategy to support our clients' decision-making process or dilemma around taking an epidural? And if you can agree with me on that, then you can pop a yes in the chat saying, yes, I agree that informing might not be the best thing, because as we see, they are asking for epidural knowing, right? Being very well informed. So this is why I'm so excited that you came here today, because transformational birth coaching is not at all about informing or telling. Transformational birth coaching is about being informed about your clients, and you can write it down to yourself. If you think that the context of the epidural conversation is labor pain or coping with labor pain, then tap yourself on the shoulder now, because it is true. It is definitely not birth plan. It is definitely not common medical interventions. Actually, the context of the epidural conversation is labor pain or the fear of labor pain. And this is very, very important, what I'm going to tell you now. This is why no piece of information, I promise you, you're going to walk away from this meeting knowing the answer to my question. This is why no piece of evidence or information is going to support your clients in this decision-making process, because you can't help them resolve a dilemma that is rooted in fear with information, right? Fear surpasses evidence, right? And this is why also obstetric gynecology is not so evidence-based, because it is the most defensive practice, because it is based on fear, and fear attracts fear. However, inviting your client to have, with a loving invitation, to have a conversation and get to know their beliefs, the belief system about childbirth, about labor contractions, about epidural, that's going to be a great way for you. Okay, so let's experiment with all those possibilities. Say that your client already decided that she's taking an epidural. She wants to take epidural. You're not going to be judgmental. You're not going to try to change her mind, but you can try to create an opening for something new, a new perspective, a new way of thinking with questions you can ask about the why. Why did you already decide to take epidural? What led you to this conclusion? You can ask, are you aware of other options to cope with labor sensations? You can ask, are you open to learning more about epidural? I'm curious, why do you feel the need to decide right now? Yes? Or is there a chance that during birth, with my support, you will feel differently about the epidural and you will be able to go throughout labor without an epidural? So these questions are all creating an opening, right, to adopt a new perspective. And there are so many more questions you want to ask, like, what is my role before the administration of epidural or after the administration of epidural? Because you want to know how to support them, right? Can you share a little bit what you shared in our last group session about what happened in your practice when you started asking questions?
Yeah, well, shifting from sharing information, things I knew that would often elicit, oh, I feel better after talking to you, and it being kind of me holding that excitement and enthusiasm, to shifting to thinking about, oh, what do I want them to know, but how do I ask it in a question, has been leading to, wow, that's such a great question. Oh, I haven't thought about it that way. Thank you for asking me that. And it's really creating them to think about it and to create, oh, that inward experience instead of attaching it to me. And the other part of it is it creates this like deeper trust in me. Like, I'm really listening. I really am interested in what you're saying. I really care about you. And then I'm showing up at the birth, and just me showing up can be so much of just, oh, that person is here, but I'm doing the work, instead of, oh, that person's here and they're going to maybe do the work for me, or they're going to guide me through the work. Or they're like, oh, I know I'm doing the work, but she sees me, she hears me, and she's going to be with me while I do it. So even in showing up in the birth, I find I'm taking more pictures, I'm using more words and gentle touch and less getting in there and having to kind of really dig in during those moments, because we've already gotten so deep in the prenatal that we're already deep.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better. Did you ever find that you missed sharing any piece of information, important piece of information, because you weren't leading with what you know, but you were leading with what they know about themselves?
No, actually the opposite. I find that as they start opening up and sharing, it opens up. We just keep going deeper and deeper into things. So there's nothing that's not coming up or not being addressed. Awesome. And it's so what's coming up for them too, which then I find is pretty universal.
Right.
We're more the same than we're different.
Yes. Thank you so much. Kisses. Can we all give love to Connie for sharing with us so beautifully? Yes. And thank you. I think that actually curiosity about our clients works like magic. Which motivation do you think is stronger? The positive or the negative? Well, everybody wrote positive. I knew I can trust you on that. The thing is, think about it. Can you think of a negative motivation for taking an epidural? I want you to know a negative motivation is not going to hold. As soon as another fear is bigger, your clients are going to let go of their decision about epidural. So there is absolutely a negative motivation for taking an epidural, right? For example, fear of the pain. That's a negative motivation, right? And can you think of a negative motivation to avoid taking an epidural? Can someone decide that they're scared of epidural, they don't want to take it, and based all their decision on something that they are afraid of? And this will be a negative motivation to avoid taking an epidural. I know you can all think about fear of the needle, fear of those downsides we talked about. Those are negative motivations to avoid epidural. The moment that their fear of the next contraction, or how many more contractions they're going to have and how much more painful it's going to be, they're going to just let go of their decision. The next slide is going to show you how valuable it is, because if we're talking about the no, most of us will cheer to our clients and celebrate them when they decide not to take epidural. However, I'm going to tell you that asking them questions, even when they decide that they do not want to take epidural, is so valuable for them. I still am going to inquire about the why, because I wholeheartedly am really curious about why would someone decide not to take epidural when it's available for them? What is the reason? And because I know the value of adapting a positive motivation. Okay, we're going to come back to this. And I'm going to ask them, how do they plan to cope? What is the other plan B for not taking epidural? How do they plan to cope? And I'm going to ask them if there's anything that might cause them to change their mind. And can you see how it's going to lead your clients to generate and hold a strong conviction? In the GROW model of coaching, the G stands for goals. Remember? Your North is your client's goals. You need to inquire about this. The R stands for their reality, and by reality we mean all of their beliefs and values and backgrounds and conclusions and experiences and everything that is their context around the conversation. That's the reality. The O stands for options, right? What are the options? And what we do is, once we feel that our clients are heard, that we establish trust, that they feel comfortable, that they feel heard, confident that we see them, we can try to open new options so that we can help them see more perspectives, more ideas, right? But first we need to connect with their model of the world, with their reality, and only then we move in the conversation as it flows into opening options. And every coaching conversation must end with a way forward, an area of practice. As I said, the steps, the accountability, holding your clients accountable by designing an area of practice or a call to action is your best way to be sure that you are not overcommitting, over delivering, or having a burnout.